welcome to Getaway Day. My name is Gautam. His name is Mason, and we are bringing you another episode today. One day late, but nevertheless, we're going to be talking about some teams as we hit the quarter mark. Memorial Day is a traditional kind of checkpoint in the MLB calendar where we look around and see how our team's doing. Do these stats actually mean anything at this point? Before we do that, we're going to do our This Week in Baseball segment. And if you enjoy our podcast, please subscribe and give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And then hit us up on Twitter at Getaway Day Pod. Mason, what's going on? I know you have something to plug as well.
Yeah, so if you enjoy baseball cards and you didn't already know that I also love them immensely, I haven't finished up recounting since I opened a couple hundred cards. Somewhere around maybe 12,000 sitting right behind me. Some call it a problem. I call it a hobby. But I did a video that is actually part of a group of videos that I'm doing with Ashley Sanders, who has been a guest here in the pod, good friend of the pod, and Matt from Post Happy Streams. And we're doing a box war. All those videos will be coming out tomorrow on Friday, the 27th. And then we will have a follow-up video to reveal the winner of that box war sometime early next week. We haven't got that scheduled yet, but it's a lot of fun. I had a great time opening the product. I can't wait to see Ashley and Matt's videos. So make sure to check those out. I'll be posting them on our socials, but they are on our YouTube channel with links to both of those. So that is happening this week. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Definitely we'll be checking that out. Let's get into some prospect debuts that we had this week. There were some big ones, especially with the St. Louis Cardinals, who called up Nolan Gorman, their top prospect, and Matthew Liberatore.
To quote my hero, Lizzo, it's about damn time.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this one for a little bit, and they're finally here. Liberatore made his start, actually, and got sent back down, but due to the injury to Steven Matz, he's coming back up, and he's going to get that shot in the rotation, at least for as long as Matz is unavailable. But I think Jordan Hicks actually just got placed on the IL today.
He did. 15-day IL retroactive to yesterday, so he's going to be missing 3 starts there. And Matz is still out for another...
We don't know, right?
9 days minimum, I think.
I think it's going to be longer than that, I would think.
I think it's going to be longer, but minimum on his 15-day stint, I think there's 9 days left still. So even if he comes back healthy quickly, which he probably won't, we'll probably get to see a couple of starts from Libby here. And I had a lot of fun this week. We actually didn't have just those 2 debuts. We actually had a 3rd debut in... presumed heir apparent to Yadier Molina, who is retiring at the end of the season, as has been pretty widely publicized. But Andrew Kisner is not the guy that you should be expecting to be the catcher of the future for the Cardinals. Really good catcher, probably going to be platooning. But the guy that everyone's got their eyes on, Ivan Herrera. He made his debut the other day, only played defensively. He did not get a single at bat, so we're still waiting for that to happen. He did get optioned back down. He came up because Yadi was on the bereavement list. Yadi is back tonight, so Herrera got optioned down. But that was fun to see him in a Cardinals uniform in Busch Stadium. But yeah, talking about Nolan Gorman and Matthew Liberatore, though, like, could they honestly have had, and you could argue that Liberatore, yes, could have had a better debut, but those 2 guys had really good debuts. Like Gorman, I think day 1 maybe didn't do great. I don't think he had any hits. Oh no, sorry. He went 1 for 4 on day 1, 1 for 2 the next day when he came in when there was an injury to, I think, Dylan Carlson.
Yeah.
That was the day that Libby pitched. I'll get to that in a minute because that's kind of a big thing with Libby's start there. 3 for 6 the day after that, and then he went 0 for against Toronto. But
the Cardinals timed it perfectly, right? A nice little soft landing spot against the Pirates. What better place to make your debut?
exactly. And he had only ever played against Indianapolis one time. So, like, he didn't really know the Pirates pitchers either, even though they're all essentially AAA guys. But yeah, so great, great first opportunity for him. He hit for a really high average, which is not what you should be expecting from Nolan Gorman. This guy is built. He's more of the Joey Gallo prototype, I think, is probably the fair way to say it. Maybe a bit better average than that, but high strikeouts and insane power. That's what Nolan Gorman is. And okay second base defense.
Yeah.
So, but
I actually had a point on that, on the defense point of the whole thing. So something I've noticed with the moves that the Cardinals have made recently is that they're doing something unusual. They're kind of prioritizing offense for like the first time ever that I can remember. Because when you move Edman to maybe a position he's worse at than second base, like shortstop, where he's now playing primarily,
yeah,
then you bring up Gorman as your everyday second baseman. Then they're playing Juan Yepez in left field. He's not really he's never really played outfield before, and he's not
he
your
had
most
never played outfield before. He made his outfield debut in the majors.
Right. So, and he's not your typical fast outfielder. He's not fast at all. He's extremely slow. So it's interesting to me that they're doing that.
So
I don't know if that's manager related or they've just had or it's just dependent on the personnel that they have, but they're not prioritizing defense like they had in the past.
I think part of it is out of necessity. There's another part of it that I don't quite understand. So Yepes, I don't really understand. I think that's just trying to get his bat in there somewhere because you're not really moving Goldie. You're not moving Arenado, which he can't play third. But I mean, with some of these other guys that can, like those two guys are defensive stalwarts at those positions. You good?
Yep.
Those two guys are defensive stalwarts at their positions. They're going to play there 145 times a year. They're going to get some days off, but they're going to play there a majority of the time. Yepes is a first baseman DH. At DH, we've got Albert. We've got Corey Dickerson. We've got Yepes and Gorman and all these other guys who are kind of DH types. You've got to fit them in the lineup somewhere. Then you get to the fact where moving Tommy off of second base, where he's a Gold Glove second baseman. He's phenomenal at second base defensively. That one is kind of out of necessity because, one, Gorman can't play anywhere else but second. Maybe some outfield, out and right. But I probably wouldn't do that. I would rather have Tommy in right and Gorman at second. But we also don't have a shortstop right now. Like Paul DeYoung is down in AAA because he was just completely lost. He's been looking. He's been dominating in AAA. Sense.
But it's one of those things like when you look at all the personnel that they have available, what the Cardinals may have done in prior years is just live with DeYoung as shortstop because he's clearly the best defender there, right?
Yeah. Now they can get away with it because Tommy is still a plus shortstop. He's not an elite shortstop defensively. He's still plus. It's his natural position. So like he knows how to play it. We have guys like Brendan Donovan who are plus defensively at pretty much every infield position, who's also hitting pretty well in the majors so far. And those guys can kind of take shortstop. We basically have like 5 DHs and 4 super utilities is kind of how it's working right now. I say 4. Edmundo Sosa really only plays shortstop, but he was coming off an injury as well. So it's like, how much playing time is he going to get now that we've put Tommy over there? So it's a really complicated situation. Ollie's done a really good job with it so far, in my opinion. There's a lot of Cardinals fans that are going to argue that is absolute crap, and I'm wrong. There's a lot of guys that say we need to DFA Corey Dickerson. Honestly, I'm in that group from the standpoint that we're not giving him a fair shot and we're just plugging up the lineup. Let him go somewhere where he can actually get regular playing time because he's a really solid player. And then it clears up more space for your guys like Gorman, like Yepes. But I'm just a fan sitting in the middle of Indiana, so what do I know? But yeah, but then Libby, let's talk about his start for a minute. Because his start, if you look at just the line, looks not great. His line was 4 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, a wild pitch, and 3 Ks. Off the top of your head, does that sound like a good start?
No, and the part that I tuned in was where he had that wild pitch, and he didn't really look that good.
Yeah.
But there was definitely still flashes in there. Like curveball looked really good. Looked like he could get the fastball up to like 98. So
yeah,
I mean,
and
you can see why he's a top prospect.
Yeah, and the other thing that's key to me is that 4 earned runs is kind of deceiving because in this game, Harrison Bader ended up coming out with a hamstring tightness, and what the Cardinals did is Dickerson was already playing left that day. Terrible decision. Never do that. But Tyler O'Neill had just been put on the IL, so it's like you got to throw someone out there. Dickerson's the guy. Okay. Bader comes out of center early in the game. Well, we don't really have any guys that play center. DC does occasionally, but for some reason they decided to put Tommy in center instead of moving DC to center and Tommy to right.
I think that's because he was hurt, right?
Not that day, I didn't think.
Oh, I don't know.
I think he got hurt the next day. But then Brian Reynolds comes up and he hits one to left center. Dickerson is standing about 2 feet from the wall. I guess he thought that it was either going to be easy to catch or it was going to be over the wall. I don't know. It ended up careening off the wall right in front of him, about a foot in front of him, off of the light blue padding where it's really hard to see the ball, bounces into center. Tommy Edman, if you watch that play, kind of forgot that he was in center field and did not react when the ball was hit. He stood where he was and didn't move. And then the ball hit the wall and then he went, oh, shoot, I'm supposed to back that up. And he starts sprinting over to the ball. But the ball gets away from Dickerson, who's slow. It goes halfway between the two. Brian Reynolds is pretty quick, and he gets around the bases for an in-the-park home run. So that's one that he might have still given up that run later because it was easily a double if Dickerson played it correctly or Edman played it or backed it up correctly. But they didn't, so it goes up as a home run and another earned run on the board. So overall, he went almost 5 and only gave up like 3 legit runs with 2 walks and 3 Ks. That's a significantly better line if you're looking at it just at face value. So, at least in my opinion.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's move on to the debut of Adley Rutschman for the Orioles. Another one that's been very longly anticipated by Orioles fans and all baseball fans, really, because he's been number 1 prospect. Kind of been waiting for him since like probably the middle of last year. And he probably would have made the team out of camp if he had not been injured. And, you know, he got a little bit of time at AAA this year, and now he's here. And
Yep.
I don't know, like, what do you think he's feeling right now? He's got a lot of pressure on him. He's like the face of the franchise, and he's barely had any experience.
Yeah, he's got tons of pressure on him. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess he should feel incredibly lucky that Cedric Mullins broke out the way he did last year, and that he's still now kind of like the guy that maybe he's not the guy, but he's a guy in Orioles fans' minds. So it takes a little bit of pressure off of Adley. You have Ryan Mountcastle, who was a really big prospect. He's up there. That might take a little bit of pressure off Adley. But this is a guy who has been the number 1 prospect for years. Basically, since he was drafted, he's been number 1 essentially that whole time. He is a 70 grade prospect, which is almost unheard of. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was the last one, and before that, I couldn't even tell you who the last 70 grade prospect was. And he's a switch hitting catcher that's fast. People expect a lot of home runs. They expect good average because he's shown all of those in college and in the minors. And I mean, hey, that first game, he showed quite a bit of those skills. And he was 1 for 4, but that one was a triple.
Yeah, for sure. Flying around the bases. Not a lot of catchers can do that.
Oh yeah, it's JT Realmuto, but faster is kind of what Adley is. But no, so when he was coming around second there, do you think Glaber looked at him and goes, "Why are you in such a rush, man?" But no, that was a really, really fun debut for Adley and his family. Just seeing their reaction whenever he hit that triple was everything. Like, they've been waiting on that for a long time. Orioles fans have been waiting on that for almost just as long, to be honest with you. Yeah. It only took, what, is the first, 6 years of tanking to get to here?
Basically, yeah. So he's the face of this rebuild for the Orioles. The last face, and probably the biggest prospect they've had, before, like, the last big prospect they had was Manny Machado, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that really went well. Like, obviously Manny was great for the Orioles, but he didn't last. So we'll see the kind of team that Mike Elias can put around Adley, because Adley was his first pick as a GM.
Well, and
now he's finally in the major leagues.
And there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences with him and Manny, because with him and Manny, they were both like the number 1 prospect for the team. They were both these really, really good prospects that started out. Granted, Adley's only been up for like a week, so we don't really know how good a start really is with the short sample size. But they both started out really well. Machado was really good for 6 years before he left. But different ownership, different front office.
It's not different ownership, right? Same old guys.
I thought they sold. Did they not? I thought they sold about 5 years ago.
Didn't think so.
Oh.
Same group, and they used to spend a lot more, so maybe they'll bring it back with this new rebuild or whatever. I have no faith in the Orioles, as you can tell.
Yeah, I don't either, but we do have to remember he's not the last good prospect they have either.
Right.
Like, since they've been tanking,
coming up soon, hopefully.
Grayson,
DL Hall.
Yep. You'll have Gunnar Henderson not too far away, maybe another year.
He's still really young, but he's been absolutely dominating, I think, AA this year.
Yep. Then you've got some guys that are a bit Kyle Bradish came up this year. He's been solid. Or he's a really good prospect. And then you've got some younger guys that are coming up, and Colby Mayo, Jordan Westberg, Colton Cowser. And so there's a lot of hope moving forward for this team. So if hopefully the ownership and the new GM looks at this and says, this is our time. Let's start to put this thing back together, because Baltimore has been awful for way too long. So,
yeah, switching gears to another rebuild, the Pirates. I actually have a lot more faith in the Pirates rebuild. And they brought up a couple of prospects. Well, they really brought up just one prospect for his debut. Yes.
I'm sorry, did you just say you have faith in something on Bob Nutting's team?
Yeah, I try not to think about Bob Nutting, but yeah.
Would you like to amend your comment?
No, I'll just give some explanation.
You're doubling down. Wow. Okay, Let me hear it.
So, I mean, we got to see what these prospects can do. Like, they're playing the Ben Gamels and the Daniel Vogelbachs of the world. Like, we kind of know what those players are. We got to start seeing what their system can produce. And they brought up an outfielder by the name of Cal Mitchell. He's not like one of their top prospects by any means, but he was having a great season at AAA. He puts the bat on the ball a lot, and he plays an okay right field. So you got to see what guys like that. Maybe you'll find a hidden gem. Maybe you find the next Stephen Kwan or something like that.
Well, and
And
Cal Mitchell wasn't a non-prospect by any means.
no, he wasn't. He
Like,
was a second round pick. Yeah.
yeah, like really good prospect, just not like their number one, number two, like they're O'Neal Cruz.
I think Fangraphs actually had Cal Mitchell as their 37th prospect. So they've kind of got a
Really?
deep system right now.
Yeah. Um, and I realize that we're talking about the guys who are making debuts recently, but we were just talking about faces of rebuilds. Like this rebuild has a lot of good young players, just like the Orioles one will here in the future, but it kind of kicked off with Ke'Bryan Hayes too.
Yeah, and he's showing that he's actually a very, very good player, like everyone thought he would be.
He's not shown any pop yet this year.
I think it's coming. I think he hits the ball extremely hard.
I think it's coming too. But so far this year, he's still at 0 home runs, but he had 6 last year, and he had a lot of wrist injuries. He started this year with a wrist injury. As that heals up, I kind of think that we're going to start seeing some pop out of the third baseman there.
I think so too.
But
they also brought up a pitcher he had already made his debut, Roansy Contreras, but they had sent him back down to get stretched out. He came back up and made a start of 5 scoreless innings, so that was good to see. He was the kind of the big chip that they got back in the Jameson Taillon trade, so I think he's a guy that can be like a mid-rotation guy. He's probably not going to be an ace, but you need number 2s and 3s in your rotation, and you got to start somewhere.
And with the way that their system looks right now, unless they go out and get number 1 or 2, he's going to be that number 1 for the Pirates.
They traded all their number 1s, and Garrett Cole, Tyler Glass, now Joe Musgrove. Oops.
Jameson Taillon.
Yeah.
And now they got Jose Quintana and Mitch Keller.
Yikes.
Anyone else?
JT Brubaker. Yikes.
Brubaker could be better than we're giving him credit for.
He's all right.
Keller and Quintana are not. I can guarantee you that.
No.
But
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on prospects?
Just that there's a lot more in the pipe. Like I kind of sometime in the future want to go and just do like a full episode on only prospects. Like just the guys that we think people need to know. Like, yeah, there's guys in your top 10, guys like Noelvi Marte. Guys like another guy in the Pirate system. I was going to say Harry Ford. That's the guy in the Mariners. The catcher that they just got last year.
Oh, Henry Davis.
Henry Davis. There we go. There's a lot of really good prospects, and then there's a lot of really good prospects that are not in the top 100. One of them is actually the brother of a friend of mine in David VR. Nobody knows him. I kind of want to talk about them sometime. So
let's do that, yeah.
But yeah, so check out prospects. They're really fun. They don't always pan out. In fact, more often than not, they don't at the major league level. But it's really fun to get to see these guys that are not your everyday major league guys. So check it out if you haven't.
All right, so moving on. This topic's not as fun, I guess. It was a kind of a disheartening thing that happened, but Josh Donaldson, Yankees playing the White Sox, and Josh Donaldson kind of makes a comment to Tim Anderson saying, "What's up, Jackie?" And obviously that's a very disrespectful thing to say. That kind of spiraled into some different responses from Anderson where he was not feeling respected, obviously. And Josh Donaldson was trying to play it off as an inside joke between Anderson and himself, which it clearly was not. And
yeah, how often do two guys on division rivals have inside jokes with each other like that? I'm guessing it's not very often.
No. And Donaldson referenced the story from Sports Illustrated from 2019 where Anderson said he was basically saying that he draws inspiration from Jackie Robinson, and he kind of considers like what he's doing in trying to change the game as a kind of um, I don't know what the word for it, but similar to Jackie Robinson.
In line with, kind of.
Right.
Like not saying he is that.
He's not. Yeah, right.
But he's drawing inspiration and trying to do what Jackie did.
And obviously, the name Jackie Robinson in baseball is like the gold standard. It's a very there's a lot of honor in what Jackie Robinson did, obviously for baseball, and then Josh Donaldson's turning around and turning that into something that's insulting and disrespectful. I don't know.
And his immediate response to the media that day was, "It's an inside joke between the two of us. I meant it as a positive," and things like that. And it's like, well, one, Tim Anderson is offended. He's the guy that this inside joke is supposedly with. If you're offended by an inside joke, that probably means it wasn't one. Tony La Russa comes out and says that was a problem. Pretty honestly racist. TLR is very seldom right about anything, and he was right here. Tim Anderson took issue with it. It means it's a problem. MLB started investigating it, handed out a 1-game suspension for it, said it crossed a line. That makes it a problem. Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees, came out the next day and said, yeah, no, I had to sit down with him. That was way over a line. And everyone on all sides that's not Josh Donaldson said this is a problem.
Yeah, and then we should mention that Josh Donaldson did issue an apology. Yeah. I didn't read that at all, but I mean the damage is done, right?
Well, like, and then he came out again today and issued a statement and said, "I apologized to Tim Anderson a couple days ago. Today I'm extending an apology to the Robinson family." And it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel genuine. Maybe it is, but it doesn't feel like it is. And then I see all these people on social media or chat rooms that I'm in or whatever, and they're like saying that like Tim Anderson is just, he can't take a joke, or Donaldson wasn't in the wrong, or something like that. And it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Four and the completely unrelated groups came out and said,
he got this booed at Yankee Stadium there on Saturday, and then Sunday Anderson turns around and hits a huge 3-run homer.
Oh, and shush the crowd too, because the crowd
he really did.
Because the crowd booed Anderson too.
Yep, that's what I was talking about. They were booing Anderson. Yeah,
gotcha. I thought you meant they booed Donaldson.
No, I think the Yankees fans are kind of trying to give him a pass for this when they should not be doing that.
No, and it's not the first time he's done things like this.
No.
Josh Donaldson, I don't know if this is a podcast-friendly word. Josh Donaldson is a dick. He's proved it over and over and over and over again. He'll do anything to get under your skin. It doesn't matter if it crosses the line.
Yeah.
But all right,
let's take a moment to talk about Anderson, though.
Yeah, let's do it.
Move on. So, like, what Tim Anderson is doing this year is kind of amazing. Like, he has been the best player on the White Sox by far. He's kind of keeping them afloat.
Can I throw out a pretty lofty statement here?
Sure, go for it.
I think Tim Anderson is the best shortstop in the major leagues right now.
Ooh, that's a big one, yeah.
But I said, it's lofty, but I think it has some merit.
Like it. I don't know if I got to think about that one for a bit, but he's definitely up there. What he's doing this year, he's hitting 355. One of the guys you could basically mark down that he's going to hit 300. He's hitting 355 this year. 395 OBP. Still, like, he's not a big walker. He does not enjoy walking. He likes to swing the bat, and he's great at making contact. And then the powers come through too. 513 slugging percentage. He's got 5 homers this year, 7 steals, and great defense at shortstop.
Yeah, and
I love what Tim Anderson's doing.
To a point you were just making, and then to add to it, like his approach this year, I don't know what's different about it, but just listen to these two comps. 2021, 4.0% walk percentage. That's pretty low. That's
normal.
pretty low.
Normal for him.
It's normal for him, but it's pretty low in general.
Yeah, it's very low.
K percentage, 21.6. That's pretty low for the majors. Like not elite,
Below
but
average.
It's pretty low.
Just a bit below average, yeah.
2022, 3.7% walk percentage. Checks out. 11.1% strikeout percentage.
Wow, unreal.
He's every ball that crosses the plate, he's making contact with. I swear, all his strikeouts are just like foul tips into the glove. They have to be. I don't believe that he has a whiff this year.
Yeah, he had his first strikeout looking yesterday.
Really?
He never lets that happen. I think he had it 12 times all of last year. So
well, and the other fun thing here, so his average 355, his BABIP is only 380. Like usually at 355, you would assume that BABIP is something insane, and it kind of lines up. Like this is
he's
legit.
Always had really high BABIPs, yeah.
He has. I mean, 380 is actually pretty on par for him for the last 4 years. 399 and 19, 383 and 20, 372 last year. This kid is really, really, really good.
Yeah, and the improvement that he showed like throughout his career is just insane. Because when he came up, he actually struck out a lot, and he still hit for like pretty decent average, but no one thought he would be like this kind of player at any time. I didn't, for sure.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he had 335 average in 19, and he's not really gone much below that since.
Yeah, it's absurd.
And then he's got some pop for a shortstop. Like he's not Carlos Correa as far as power is concerned, but like he's a 20 home run guy, a 15 to 20 home run guy. And a guy that gets on base as much as he does and his average is as high as his, if he's getting you 20 home runs a year and he can steal you almost 20 bases, you got yourself a damn good player.
Yep, no doubt.
So,
all right, let's move on to our main topic today, and that's looking at 4 teams that we picked out as we hit the quarter mark in the season. I can't believe that we're already at the quarter mark. So our teams are the Diamondbacks, the Yankees, the Mariners, and the Braves. They're all in very different spots, and thought we would just take a deeper look at how some of these teams are doing. So Diamondbacks are kind of surprising, and in a good way. They've not been absolutely terrible. They're 23 and 22. They're 7 games out of first in the NL West. Minus 16 run differential. What's going on with the Mariners or with the Diamondbacks?
What's going on with the Mariners? Oh,
jumping ahead a little bit.
I was not prepared for that. Well, so just before we get into what's going on with them, I just want to kind of compare that to what they did last year. Because like this team is not significantly different than last year. I mean, there's some changes.
I feel like we talk about the Diamondbacks all the time, but they lost 110 last year.
They were 52 and 110 with a minus 214 run differential. And that was at the end of the season. But like, this is a significantly improved team. And really, that's all coming from Ketel Marte, Dalton Varsho. Their pitching has been low-key kind of awesome, which is not what we expected from this rotation. I think I kind of want to start with the pitching because I think that's probably their biggest thing is they're just not giving up as many runs as we expected.
Yeah, they're not like good. They're not necessarily good, but they're not awful. Yeah, they're like kind of mid-pack.
Zach Gallen is exactly who we thought Zach Gallen was going to be. He's coming in here with a 2.22 ERA, 24% strikeout percentage, about a 6% walk percentage. He's and that's all legit. Like we knew Zach Gallen was good, but Merrill Kelly's coming in here and he's got a 3.5 ERA. Mad Bum has a 2.76 in 42 innings with not very many strikeouts. He's only a 16.2% strikeout guy and an 8% walk guy. Yet he somehow has a 2.76 ERA. He does have a 4.63 FIP. That kind of is telling you the ERA is not gonna last a whole lot longer. But they're getting a lot of good innings out of these guys. Why does Carson Kelly have pitching stats? That seems problematic. Huh.
Yeah, and maybe we can give some credit to their new pitching coach, Brent Strom. So he retired last year. He was with the Astros for a while.
Is he
He
related to
retired.
Matty by chance?
Who?
Matty Strom?
Oh no, different spelling. Strom.
Oh, scrub.
But he's kind of like got that reputation as being a pitcher whisperer, really good pitching coach. And he comes out of retirement after he was retired for about 5 minutes and joins the Diamondbacks as their pitching coach. And now all their pitchers are good all of a sudden. So I mean, and they're not like the most talented pitchers in the world. Like you got a guy in Merrill Kelly who, was out of the major leagues for a while, had to go to Korea, kind of found something, and then came back. And then who
Yeah,
else they have?
and
Like
he's
Zach
been
Davies.
Zach
Obviously
Davies.
not the best pitcher, but he's pitching okay.
Luke Weaver has been.
He's been hurt the whole year, basically.
Oh yeah, he's only pitched 2/3 of an inning. Interesting. But yeah,
and then getting something out of Mad Bum after
Humberto Castellanos is the other guy that's been getting starts.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I kind of don't expect their pitching to stay as good as it has been. Just it kind of feels like you're gonna see regression from Mad Bum. You're gonna see regression from Merrill Kelly probably. Although his FIP is actually better than his ERA right now. So maybe Merrill Kelly has just found something that we didn't know he had. But where I'm actually really concerned for them pitching wise is in their bullpen.
Mark Melancon. Oh,
it's bad. I don't think I've watched a single Diamondbacks game that Mark Melancon hasn't blown.
He's been really, really terrible this year.
Yeah, he's got a 7.04 ERA, a 4.09 FIP. So he doesn't deserve his 7.09, but he does. We watched him in person.
And he's not able to strike anyone out. Like his lowest strikeout rate in his career by a long shot.
Mad Bum strikes out people at a higher rate.
That's
Melanson is striking out people at an 11% clip.
Yeah, so he's not missing any bats whatsoever. I think he's just at the end of the road.
He is getting a little bit lucky with his ground ball rate being about 50. No, it's actually above 50. It's 52.5. So he's getting lucky there that they have guys like Ketel Marte, like Geraldo Perdomo in the infield to kind of suck up those balls and get the outs. That's kind of the only reason Mark Melancon has been not probably DFA'd, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he signed a 2-year contract this year. It's year one.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, it's only 2 years. You can eat that money. And he's not making a ton, is he?
Making like $7 million a year.
Yeah, he's making a ton for them. Crap.
Yeah, probably one of their most highly paid players. But Ketel Marte really struggled to start this year, but he's turned it around in May. Got a 377 average, scored like 16 runs when he scored 5 in April. Dalton Varsho is, to me, he's their most exciting player just because of how versatile he is. So Carson Kelly's on the injured list right now, so he's playing a lot of catcher. But to start the year, he was playing every day in center field. And it's not like just a gimmicky kind of thing like, oh, put the really athletic guy out in center field and see how he does. He's legitimately like rating out as a plus center field defender.
Well,
90th percentile outs above average, 97th percentile outfielder jump. I mean,
well, and ridiculous. He's like one of the only guys who like legitimately played both positions in the minors the entire time too.
I think he played a lot more catcher in the minors though.
He did, but he played a significant amount of the outfield still. Enough that like they knew what they were getting is in a center fielder from him. It wasn't just like a let's try him out sort of thing. And then now he ends up being really good. Like they knew what they were getting in the outfield for him.
And very interesting on a team level, they're second in like the DEF statistic on Fangraphs for defense. They're well behind the Astros, who are far and away the best defensive team. But they're second, and they're also first tied for first with the Astros in outs above average with 15 on the season. So I didn't really think of the Diamondbacks as being a great defensive team, but they're kind of showing that, and that may be what is keeping their record roughly around 500 to this point.
Yeah. I was looking to see if they have another catching prospect in the pipe, which it's not looking like they do, at least in their top 10. Because I was just thinking, like, the way that Varsho is playing in the outfield, like, as soon as Kelly comes back, if they have another guy in the system, you would think they would just kind of make him a permanent center fielder. But
yeah, I think long term he is going to be an outfielder for sure.
Yeah, but it's not looking like they actually have a guy behind him. So for a while, I think we're going to get to see him play both positions. So that's going to be fun.
Yep.
And then they did bring up Alek Thomas.
Yep. He's played really well so far. It's really exciting. Hopefully, we'll get to see Corbin Carroll as well this year.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be soon. Like, I think Corbin Carroll's only in AA, but
he's only in AA because he missed all of last season. But he's been ridiculously good.
I think we'll see him soon.
Yeah.
And then they do have some other guys that are going to probably debut this year. I think we talked about this before, so I won't go on it too long. But Ryan Nelson will probably join their pitching staff at some point. He's their, I think, number 5 prospect or 6. But yeah, so the Diamondbacks have been incredibly surprising, I think, is the main point here. Like, some of it's real, some of it seems like it might be a little fake, but like I could definitely see 500 based on all the underlying stats. It just kind of feels like it might be accurate. Like, it's a high scoring division too. So you play in Colorado a lot. They have a hitter's park. Like, yeah, makes sense. So
yeah. All right, so Yankees have the best record in the major leagues right now. They are 31-13. They've got a 68 run differential. And everything they did in the offseason, they made quite a few moves to upgrade their defense, and all their pitchers are kind of panning out, except now they're struggling with a lot of injuries and COVID and things like that. But overall, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the Yankees season.
So before we get into the individual players, I actually have a question for you.
Sure.
And I'll start with the question, and then I'll explain why I'm asking the question. Do you think their 30-13 record is actually, like, legit? Like, that's that team. They're just that good. Or could it be the fact that they've played 6, 10, 13 games against the Orioles? They've played 5.
Today was their first game against the Rays.
They've played 5 against Texas. They've played 3 against Detroit. They've played 3 against Kansas City. They haven't played Tampa until right now, which they are winning 5-0 as we speak. So, yeah. Like,
so to answer your question, no, I don't think they're a team that's going to win 70% of their games. But if the alternate question is if they got lucky or they deserve to win all those games they did, I think the answer is no. Like, I think they did deserve it.
Yeah, like, I think they deserve to beat those teams, but if it had been spread out to where they were playing some of the other really good teams earlier in the season, like, would they still be in first place? Does it seem like they're going to hit a really tough stretch and they're going to fall back to earth and come right back into the middle of the pack and finish somewhere where they might not even finish in first place? Because right now they look elite.
Yeah, and now's the time kind of for those other teams. Boston's starting to play really well. Tampa Bay is obviously really good. Toronto has not hit their stride at all, but everyone expects them to. So right now the Yankees are a little bit vulnerable because of all their injuries. So you've got Josh Donaldson, Higashioka, Joey Gallo all on the COVID injury list. And then their bullpen is taking a major hit. So you got Aroldis Chapman, who is struggling. Turns out he had some Achilles soreness or tendonitis or something. He's on the injured list. And then Chad Green, probably one of the most like underrated relievers in the game over the last like half decade or so. He's getting Tommy John. Jonathan Loizaga is on the IL with shoulder soreness. So bullpen is depleted right now. And then Giancarlo Stanton is also on the IL with the ankle issue. So a lot of guys out right now.
Yeah, but they have had some guys kind of coming out of nowhere and being really good though. At least coming out of nowhere to me as a guy who doesn't follow the Yankees. Admittedly, I don't like them. I try not to pay attention to them. But Michael King has been really good out of their bullpen.
Yep.
And they've got a couple other guys here that I've never really heard of that have been solid. This Lucas Litke guy. Litke. He's not killing it, but they're getting some innings out of him, and he's been a positive pitcher. He looks like he had a blow up inning or two that ballooned his ERA, and that's kind of what makes him look not very good. But like,
I think we got to talk about Clay Holmes though. He's been utterly ridiculous.
That's actually the name I was trying to search for, was Clay Holmes.
So Clay Holmes is now the guy taking over that closer's role for Chapman. He has pitched like 23 straight scoreless innings now, which is the longest streak in the majors. He's got a ridiculous 0.38 ERA, and he's getting ground balls at an 81% rate. So throwing a lot of two-seamers, and just everyone's just pounding them straight into the ground, and he's been awesome. Another Pirates pitcher that got away and became good after that.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
There are too many.
But then the thing that's been winning the Yankees games though is their offense, and specifically behind Aaron Judge. This guy turned down do you remember what the offer he turned down was? Was it $275 for like 10 years?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't remember the specifics.
Yeah, but he turned down a really big deal and bet on himself. I didn't think it was going to go well because I thought he was going to get hurt. Aaron Judge on the field is probably one of the best hitters I have ever seen in my lifetime. I thought he was going to get hurt. We're only a quarter of the way through, but he's kind of even better at hitting than I thought he was whenever he's healthy. This man has a 313, 383, 688 slash line with 17 home runs. He's only striking out 26%, which is a little bit higher than average, but only by like 1% or 2%, maybe. Walking about 10% of the time. And he amazes me. Like, I'm kind of speechless. I don't know how to describe him.
And beyond the batting, right? He plays great right field. He runs the bases really well. He stole his third base tonight.
He's got a cannon of an arm, which I guess makes sense because his arm is like 100 feet long, so you get some velocity coming off the end of that.
Yeah, there's basically nothing that the man does not do well on a baseball field.
Yeah. He's just like 6'8" or 6'9" and gets hurt a lot. But he hasn't been so far. Knock on wood on your end. Thank you. But yeah, he's got a 209 WRC plus this year. Like, he's one of the best hitters in the league, period. He's up there with Mike Trout. He's up there with Nolan Arenado's been on a bit of a cold streak, but he's still been hitting really well. Goldschmidt's been really good. J-Ram. Like, he's up with those guys, and those guys have been the best in the league. Taylor Ward. Can't leave out Taylor Ward. But he's playing at an MVP level, and Mike Trout seems to be the only guy who could potentially stop him.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this another Mike Trout second place MVP vote this year?
That would be funny if Mike Trout was like on the opposite end of it, though. Like, people like with the Miggy thing, right? They're like, Miggy won the MVP, but everyone thought that Trout should have won it. What if it goes the other way this time?
That'd be
That'd be
interesting.
funny. Yeah. I got a great stat for you on their starting pitchers, though. I honestly don't think it's the offense that's carrying the team. I mean, Judge is, but what's been insane is their starting pitchers. Garrett Cole has the worst ERA of any of their starting pitchers. How is that even possible? His ERA is 3.31, which is quite good. But you got Severino, he's at a 3.02.
Well,
Jordan Montgomery's at 3.30.
and their ace,
Nestor
Cortez.
Nestor Cortez with a 1.80 ERA. Today he was pitching against the Rays, and he's clearly not giving up any runs in the ninth inning. Jameson Taillon, 2.95 ERA. So all those guys, it's fantastic. Kind of in the exact opposite way of what the Cardinals are doing, where Cardinals are trying to prioritize their offense. All the moves that the Yankees made this offseason were sort of to help their defense, right? They go out and get
IKF.
Jose Trevino. What?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were starting with IKF. My bad.
Yeah. Yeah. IKF at shortstop, he's been good. He's kind of doing his thing. Singles hitter and playing good defense. Jose Trevino.
As much as I hate to say it, Donaldson,
yep. And moving Torres over to second base from shortstop obviously helps the defense. Signing Rizzo back, so
yeah. Okay. Another counterpoint though is to what's carrying this team: Giancarlo Stanton and Anthony Rizzo.
Oh yeah.
Stanton 285, 339, 523 with 11 home runs, and Anthony Rizzo. Don't read too much into his average. Just look at the power here. 226, 342, 503 with 11 home runs.
Yep.
Like, I guess the point is the Yankees are kind of doing everything right. Like,
yeah. If they can weather the injury storm here, hopefully get Stanton back in 10 days. They say it's kind of a minor issue. Then I'd really like to see how they play against the Rays. And today was a good start. They're winning this game 7-0.
Oh, it's 7-0 now? It was 5-0 when I looked a minute ago.
Yeah, 7-0.
Dang.
And Nasty Nestor pitched 8 innings and just gave up 4 hits.
He's like, I was only like half joking when I called him their ace. Like, he is dominating.
Yeah, the ERA is down to 1.53. Are we in the dead ball era or what? We kind of are, but
yeah,
that's a different topic.
We're back to the 2017 ball.
Yeah.
But, all right, who do we have next?
Okay, so we got the Mariners. They're on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I guess we should start on the positive stuff first. Ty France is really good, and he's continued to prove the doubters wrong. The man was a 34th round pick, and he's outproduced most of the first round of his draft in 2015. I was kind of down the rabbit hole today and found that out. Like he's higher than all but I think 4 first round picks in WAR from his draft class, and he was a 34th round pick.
Overall, 1,017th pick in that draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he was guaranteed to be below 1,000 just based off round 34 because he was the 12th pick in that round. But
1,000 passes on Ty France, and what's he doing this year? Like his numbers are ridiculous.
He's slashing 331, 406, 489 with 6 home runs. So the home runs aren't as extravagant as maybe you would expect.
But he's never really been a big power guy.
That's true. I think the biggest thing that's kind of letting him just do his thing is that they moved him to first base. He's not trying to bounce around third base, second base, first. He's just at first base. Mitch White's hurt right now, and also Evan White. Mitch White's the pitcher in the Dodgers. Evan White is on the IL. He's also not lived up to any of his prospect status. Ty France is clearly killing it. They got a Eugenio Suarez who started out really hot. I'll let you talk about him because I honestly haven't caught up on Eugenio in a while. But they're just letting him come out here and do his thing, and he's only striking out 10.8% of the time. Like,
yeah.
Ty France is just kind of really, really good.
And another skill that he's got is getting hit by pitches. He leads the American League. He's got 8 hit by pitches.
And he led the majors last year, right?
Yep.
He's
only
taking over
one guy ahead of him, Wilson Contreras.
He's taking the mantle from Anthony Rizzo.
Rizzo is hot on his heels though. He's like 2 behind him
for the season.
Yeah.
Dang. Although Rizzo kind of cheats because he stands like on the plate.
Well, you should see what Ty France does. I saw him get hit yesterday. He's got this huge old elbow pad on his left elbow, and he just kind of, just puts it out there and takes one for the team.
That's just part of his swing. He just goes from here to here.
I feel like it's cheating if your elbow pad is that big.
Yeah.
Anyways. But the Mariners are in last place in the division. It's shocking after all the moves they made, bringing in Robbie Ray, who has not pitched like the Cy Young he was last year. Winker and Suarez, everyone was very excited about that trade, including me, for the Mariners. Suarez has kind of done what you would expect him to do. He leads the team in home runs. He's got 9. Winker has been a disappointment. He has just really... I think he's just being too patient or something. He's taking plenty of walks, but not hitting for power and not really even hitting for average. So I don't know if that's going to turn, but they were definitely counting on more from Winker this year.
Yeah, and then another one of their bigger acquisitions this offseason in Adam Frazier. Like he's
kind of himself.
Yeah, he's just himself. Like he's 256, 325, 352 with 2 home runs and a stolen base. Doesn't strike out, walks quite a bit. But like offensively, like he's a great back of the lineup guy for this team if the front of the lineup guys were doing what they were supposed to. Cuz he's still a 106 WRC plus, but like the fact that his line right there is 6% better than average kind of says the average is low.
Right. And that's another thing I've struggled with this year. Just looking at people's lines, I kind of have an idea based on prior seasons what that should be relative to the league. But this year, with runs being down so much, it's like you look at a line like that, I would never have guessed that would be, 6% over average.
Yeah, like he's only 12% behind Julio Rodriguez, who in only 16 fewer at bats is 267, 320, 406 with 5 home runs and 13 stolen bases. Granted, stolen bases aren't built into WRC plus, but like it's also 0.1 WAR lower than Julio. Like Julio's been awesome. Adam Frazier has been pretty average, which is kind of what you expect from an Adam Frazier. It's honestly the thing that I love about him. Like I'm a huge Adam Frazier guy. Love him. But he is incredibly average. That's kind of his thing. And the fact that he and Julio have basically the same WAR and the same WRC plus is astounding to me. Like, yes, Frazier does have quite a bit of defensive value that's built into that. It just doesn't feel like it makes sense, though.
Yeah.
So
Julio's been good though, and he's definitely improved. Like since the beginning of the season, he's kind of adjusted, and I don't think anyone's really worried about him. He's going to be like a star player, just like everyone thought in the first place.
But who we are probably worried about, or should be worried about, I think, is JK. Jared Kelenic.
Yeah.
He last year, I thought maybe it was just he wasn't adjusting quickly enough. And now he's had plenty of time to adjust. He's got about 100 plate appearances this year. He had probably, 300 last year? And he's still hitting 140, 219, 291. He just can't seem to hit the major league breaking ball. And he couldn't last year. He's been optioned back down to AAA. I think he's in Tacoma as we speak. But he was the first guy that was supposed to be dominant, and then Julio was supposed to be better, but I'm kind of getting some pretty heavy, I got to make sure I say the right first name again, Evan White vibes from JK right now.
Yeah, but the only thing is Kelenic did not sign the team-friendly extension before he made his debut.
Yeah, which the way he's playing right now, probably
should
should have.
But no, I don't know. Like, yeah, everything looks really bad with Kelenic right now, but
I mean, he's striking out 40% of the time.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not going to work. But he's super young. I don't think we can fully write him off at this point. But
yeah, he's only 22.
Yeah.
And he's not got a full year's worth of playing time in the majors. Like,
no,
there's time. But
yeah,
he's definitely not doing.
Another guy who's come back now, finally, after he's been missing for an entire season, basically, Kyle Lewis. And the thing with Kyle Lewis is people kind of think he's a known quantity, like we know who Kyle Lewis is. But the thing is, Kyle Lewis has only played how many games has this guy played in his career?
Not very many.
He's played 114 games in his entire career.
He did win a Rookie of the Year, but then his sophomore season was not great. If I remember right.
No, it was not. And yeah, and that one was limited by the injury and everything. So
yeah,
what the Mariners get from him, it's unclear.
The only quote unquote full season he's played was the 58 games in 2020 in the 60 game shortened season. And he only played 36 games last year. Only he's played 2 so far this year, and they're both this week. Like, I'm really excited to see what he could do. How are they doing the outfield now?
So Lewis is going to DH because of the knee issues. So I think he's going to be the full-time DH.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So, yeah, so I'll be really curious to see how that pans out. The one other guy that I just want to put his name out here, we'll talk about him more at length in a future episode because we are kind of getting long here. So I think we should move to the next team or the final team. But the one guy that I don't want to skip here as far as a good thing going for these Mariners is JP Crawford. He's having a legit breakout season right now. And I think everyone should go look at this kid. He's hitting about 300. He puts the ball in play all the time. He doesn't really strike out very much. And he's got a decent amount of power for a defense first shortstop. Like, this is JP Crawford breakout season. I thought they should have gone out and got a big shortstop in the offseason when there were all these available. They didn't. And honestly, this is probably the best move that Jerry made, was sticking with JP.
Yeah. Actually, what do you say we keep talking about Mariners? I think we got some more stuff. We'll put the Braves on the back burner for right now.
Yes, let's do it.
So, you want to talk pitching here?
Yeah, let's do. So, do we want to start with the good or the bad?
I want to talk about their bullpen, which is like a big mess right now.
All right.
So they had some injuries in the bullpen with Casey Sadler going out for the season right before the season started. Ken Giles has also got hurt right before the year, so he's not back. And then just in general, the performance of their bullpen is just night and day, like from last year. Last year, their bullpen was really good, and that was part of the reason they like finished so strongly and ended up winning 90 games. Basically, everything went perfectly for the Mariners last year. They got incredibly clutch performances all season long. Their bullpen was fantastic.
They were able to score just enough runs to squeak out wins.
Yeah, it was freakish, honestly.
Yeah.
And now they're kind of getting all the bad juju, and their bullpen is not good. It's been like one of the worst in the majors. And yeah, I don't know.
And to be honest, their rotation is not much better. Like,
no, it's not.
Marco is doing Marco things. Love Marco Gonzalez, former Cardinal. I was kind of sad when they traded him away because like I knew he was going to be good, and he's being a number 3, number 4, pretty solid, 3.74 ERA, striking out not very many guys, and that's kind of a problem for him right now. But kind of outside of him, the only other like good pitcher they've had is Logan Gilbert, which fantastic for Logan Gilbert because that guy he was a huge prospect, and he's pitching to the tune of a 2.6 ERA, 26% K percentage, 8.6% walk percentage. He's thrown 52 innings, which is the second most on the team behind Robbie Ray's 60. But Robbie Ray does have a full game on him, so and his ground ball rate is really good, up at 37%. And with the infield that we've kind of been talking about there with JP Crawford and having Ty France actually play first base instead of second base, you kind of instantly improve at second. So it makes sense that he's doing really good, but it's kind of the only good thing they've got going right now in the rotation or the pitching staff, I guess.
Yeah. With the Robbie Ray thing, I'm not too worried about Robbie Ray. Actually, I think he's going to turn things around. Like nothing looks too off. Obviously, the results don't look that great. You got a 4.75 ERA, but he's still like missing bats like he always does. I think that's going to turn around. And the walk rate's not like what it used to be last year, which was completely different than anything he'd ever done in his career. But it's not back to like the really bad levels where he was terrible in like 2020 and 2019.
No,
Nothing like that.
He's only 1.5% higher than he was last year. Like that's not bad at all. 8.4.
Yeah.
It's livable.
So I see some correction for Robbie Ray coming shortly.
I think that's a good point. So, and how's their total injury report? I know we talked about Ken Giles and we talked about it wasn't Paul Sewald. Who was it? It was the
Casey Sadler.
There we go.
Yeah.
But
I think the big one that's hurting them is Mitch Haniger, who's probably their best hitter in general, right? And he, had a high ankle sprain, so I'm not sure when he's going to be back, but obviously a serious injury, and they miss him.
Yeah, he's only played 9 games, and then he's been out since. So I do think that is a big piece there. So hopefully he comes back soon, and we'll see what they could do. But this team is definitely underperforming what they could do. So
yeah, they should not be behind the A's. Like, come on.
No, they should not. But which I guess is probably a conversation for another day, that the A's are doing well enough that they're not in last place. But
yeah, they may be in the Diamondbacks bucket a little bit.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. They may be different, but regardless, Seattle's got some work to do. They're 11 games out of first place in the West. If they end up continuing on the trajectory that they're on, they've lost like 21 of their last 28 games. They're really in a funk at this point. Let's just say they end up having a very bad season. Is this like the end of the line for Jerry Dipoto and Scott Service? I think it might be. There were really high expectations.
Yeah, I kind of think it might be, because like it feels like with the moves that they've made, this is kind of their all-in season almost, or they're mostly in season. And if it doesn't pan out, they've been around for what, 5 years now? 4 years?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of feels like the ownership might move on. I don't know that would necessarily be the right move, because I do think that a lot of what they've done has been really, really good for this team. And I think it will pan out. It's just maybe a little earlier than I think we might have been expecting it to pan out a little earlier than we should have. Because like Julio's 19, 20?
He's 21, I think, yeah.
He's 21. Kelnick is 22, hasn't really panned out a ton yet. George Kirby just came up. He's pitching solid for like your first like 5 or 6 starts in the majors, but he's not
Not
like
even that. I think he's made like 2 or 3.
okay, but yeah, he's pitching well. He's not pitching phenomenally. He's kind of pitching about like how I described Libertor's debut earlier. Like is solid, not amazing, but not bad. And but these are all they're prospects that are kind of Jerry's kind of pride and joy for this team. Like it feels like it might be too early to expect them to be the best team in the league. But because they went off and randomly won 90 games last year, it kind of accelerated expectations. And that might be the downfall of Jerry Dipoto. And Scott Service is probably out with Jerry Dipoto.
Yep, very well could be. We will see. So we got to go now. Um, once again, make sure you check out those card opening videos, which will be dropping tomorrow. And follow us on Twitter at Getaway Day Pod. And we will talk to you next week.
Yep. Have a great rest of your evening.